So let's make a slightly longer video where we can see more detail. First off, I'm going to bring this back down to 20% until I'm ready to do a final export. And I'm going to add more frames here. Let's make it a lot longer. Let's say 450 frames. That's going to be 9 seconds long, so it'll have 2 seconds where it spins around. 3 seconds. And then we're going to use the rest of this time to slowly spin back into place. I'm going to go all the way to the end again and look at my SketchUp transform properties. Now remember, we don't want to go back to 0. We're going to go back to 300. And again, it doesn't look like it changed, but it does go back all the way in reverse. So I'm going to insert a keyframe there and press play and see what that looks like. So I'm going to spin around fast, come to a stop, and then slowly go back the other way, giving us a chance to really see the reflections, the shadows, the details, and ending right there again. Now that is looping. So let's do a quick check at 20% to see what that's going to look like. The main thing to change here is the output, because it's no longer a 3-second video. Let's go ahead and make a new folder by going back up into Output and creating another folder. 220127. This is still a simple house. This is 450 frames at 20%. I am going to rename that and copy so that maybe when I go into that folder and try to give it a name, I can just paste that name in there. So it'll be a little quicker. I'm going to accept that, and it's still going to be a video, and the quality is going to be at 20%, so I am now ready to save this. So I'm going to save this project as a 450 frame version. And I'm ready to render this animation. Again, it's going to go fairly quickly, and you can see what it's going to look like there. If we full screen this and we scroll in, we can actually get a pretty good idea of the quality that we're going to be seeing. But it's good to do this so that in just a couple of minutes you'll know if you got the keyframes right. If maybe you need to increase the amount of light in the background, if things are moving too slowly or too quickly. It's really frustrating to spend an hour rendering something and then realize, that window is all messed up. So this gives you a good view of the whole house before you invest all that time. And here we are in our output folder. We know that's the right one. And here it did keep the name of the file. It does add in which frames were rendered, but by looking at the details you can see that it started at 152 and then went to 154. If we double click on it and press play, we can watch it in its full rendered mode. Since that is the most recent render, here in Blender it's still pointing to that. We can actually close this, but still go back to render and say, let's view that animation. It'll go and look in that folder for that name, and it'll play it for you here in Blender. You don't have to go outside of Blender to see what it is that you've made. So let's render this at full quality, and at least full resolution, and see how long that's going to take. So let's go over here to 100%. And again, we're going to make a change here. New folder. Remember, I still have that name copied, so I can just change this to 100%. Preserve that name so that I can go into that same folder and, well, actually just easiest to type 100% there. And we're ready to render a full resolution Blu-ray disc 1920 by 1080 version of this. Render animation. Each frame is now taking about 3 seconds instead of a fraction of a second. And so as you can see, we have this longer video at 100% quality, and it took 15 plus 3, that's 18 minutes to render 450 frames. So you do need to plan that you got enough time left before the end of class before you start a render that size. I will include it as an example here below.